All right, let's pick up where we left off here. We have our basic algo that we've designed here. We've got our time parameters, and the one condition we've added to this is the 21 EMA, and we're looking at above or below for our trade conditions. Well, as we saw in the last video, that by itself, not a great result. So, of course, we could continue to refine and add some things, but before we get into all of that, let's go over to the ATM and see if we can improve the baseline that we're working with here. So when you come over to the optimizer here, to the ATM, we have the choice to, of course, when you come over here, you could just put in what you typically work with, right? You might see what that does, what your typical, whatever is you're currently using, right? Whatever your target is relative to stop, that is something you probably have a few ATMs that you're working with currently. And you might plug those in and see what that does to the result. That might be an eye-opener. But for our purposes, we're going to go over to the optimizer here and see if we can improve it and let the software improve our performance results. So with the optimizer, we have a couple of choices to make right off the bat. Now, we can get, as we add complexity, we can get into multiple positions here. We can do lots of things with trailing stops and scaling into positions. This is not a function of one contract, two contract, three contract. That could be a 50 lot, the 20 lot, and a 10 lot. It's just the number of positions we can optimize for within Algo Studio Pro. But let's just keep it basic for most people just starting out, just with a single contract, probably a good baseline to work from. Now, next in our list here, we have the sample data percentage. Now, this is the default. It's a good place to start. Now, what that's doing is, again, you'll note here we have 30 days of data loaded, but if you look over here to the total days traded, it's only trading 22. What it's doing is it's taking the parameters that it's going to create here in this optimization, and it's going to present the back test results for 80% of the data, in this case, 22 days. And then for the remainder of the data, it's going to take those conditions that optimized ATM with the condition we created with the ATM, and it's going to do a walk forward of 20% of it, so you can get a feel for how it would perform moving forward, thus creating the possibility that your data and your results get distorted because of one particularly big winner at the very end of the trading session that you're optimizing for. So it's trying to reduce some of that and give you a real look of how it would trade moving forward based on the optimization that you have here. So that can be quite meaningful. So default's probably a good place to start. Now, number of generations, I think the default is 100. I bumped it up to 300. You can go up to 1,000. Well, you can go up to as much as you want, right, depending on the time and processing power of your computer. But 300 is a good number to work with as you're starting to refine. So that's what we'll use here. Now, minimum population size, number of trades. Again, you can leave them blank. These are probably good numbers to work with here. As you can see here, total number of trades here is 359, or just in our initial. Again, I'll go ahead and zero those out. They don't need to be specific, just so that you know you can do that. And some minimum number of trades, again, because we have enough data here, you shouldn't have to worry about that too much, particularly with something like a 10 range. We're going to have plenty of trades. Minimum profit factor. Well, these will be zeroed out in the default here. I've just put in, kind of a good starting point. Well, can we get a 1.5 to 1? Let's see what we can find out. Minimum win rate. Well, 50%, probably a decent starting point. Expected value, drawdown percentage, max drawdown. I just put in some numbers here. Those are probably a good starting point here. So I don't want the max drawdown to be in excess of 700. We'll see if it can meet that. And can we avoid a loss greater than 375 per trade? Decent starting points. Now, here we have the choice here as to whether or not we want to use a stop or not. And you might say, well, why would you not want to be using a stop? Well, it could be that you're doing something like at an opposing signal, I want you to reverse. Well, I can't get to it while we have that open, but you'll have some choices here for as opposing signal if you're not using a stop. Now, here in initial stop loss here, again, you can set this, but what we're going to do is optimize for it. And then we have some choices here as to what we want to optimize for. Well, it could be all of these conditions here are available to us. Now, it might be tempting to just go right to net profit, and that's probably a good starting point. But I would encourage you to experiment with some of these others. In particular, one of our favorites that's recently been added is the K ratio here. Now, Sharpe ratio, if you're not familiar with that is, you just jump on your Google machine, and you can get some details on that if you want the particulars of the formulas. And the same with the K ratio, but just in simple terms, the K ratio is just trying to smooth out your equity curve. It's looking it's a linear regression of the results, so it's looking to smooth it so you don't have big jagged ups and downs in your equity curve. So that's not a bad place to start. So let's go ahead and try K ratio here, and we'll see how that does. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to run through. It's kind of it's like a bracket test of the Sweet 16. So it's going to do A, B, who's better? Oh, A's better. Well, it's going to progress to the next one. Oh, who's better? A, B. Oh, B's better in this one, so B's going to progress. And it will do that as it goes through 300 iterations of that or generations of that, and ultimately you'll end up with what will be the net best result, with the optimization being for K ratio. So it would be worthwhile to do both of these. Test all of them. All right, that's kind of the point. But I'm going to go ahead and do K ratio here, and then I'm going to go ahead and start this, and I'll pause the video so you don't have to sit through that. Now, depending on your computer, I mean, it could be 60 seconds, could be 90 seconds here, but I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and then I'll start it back up here once I have a result. Okay, now that optimization has run through 300 generations, and we get our top result here is what lands here. Now you'll notice that below here I've got both my top result as well as additional results here that it found that you may want to consider based on what you're optimizing for, what your focal point is. It may be drawdown is what you're focused on. It may be the K ratio, it may be net profit. These are all decisions you get to make here, but as we did it off of K ratio, what we're seeing here is the best K ratio is what lands at top. Now, if I wanted to look at variations from that, I could just click that and I see over here, okay, I get a different result. Now, if I come back here, I get a different result. Now, you can't see behind it because I've got these on top here, right? But you can see here, I've got a result of 13,369 over 10 days traded. Fewer trades, interesting. Pretty big difference in net profitability here from 39 to 96 and profit factor. But what we want to pay attention to is drawdown. Now you'll recall from the parameters we were asking for it to try and aspire to, if you will, a max drawdown of 700 and a max loss on any individual trade of 375. Well, it doesn't make that, right? So when it can't meet the criteria based on 300 generations that we've asked for, you're going to see it in red here saying, okay, well, you asked for 700, but the best we could do was find 1798. You asked for 375, best we could do is 891, given the parameters that are in there. So let me go ahead and close this, and then we'll just do a quick review here. Now, this is what you see here as I was talking. So interestingly, fewer trades. And you'll note here that it ends right here, and then we have this walk forward. So this is the 80% mark. You'll recall, right? We've got 30 days in there, but it's only looking at 14 days because this is the walk forward period. That's the final 20% from what you created walking forward, right? So we don't get that distortion. And there's still going to be times where you might find it, as you see right here, if I push that off for a second. You see something here, okay, this is a short. Now, because there's no exit parameters and it hasn't it hasn't met the stop criteria, we don't have any exit parameters on this, it's going through this entire drawdown before it ultimately finds its target way down here. Now, that may be such that, the same thing here, it's shorting here and then taking it all the way up here and exiting here. So the point being, okay, just the raw math of it here, even with this and with this, we get a good result. Now, if you're a trader, you're not going to turn this on and then walk away. If you see that short and then this massive drawdown heading higher, it's not likely you're going to sit through that and let it take the full stop. So that's an example of, okay, we've got a good result here, but when we go back and we look at the trades, we can improve this here and make it more realistic, right? So here you see something, example here, where you see something, even though we've told it to enter no new trades during the evening session, RTH only, this is a long that doesn't close until all the way over here. So again, it's not realistic. So this is a starting point, but those results, don't let those results throw you. You want to be aware of them. So now as we come back here, and I bring this back over here, we can look and say, okay, well, all right, we've got a foundational starting point. We look here and say, okay, well the initial stop loss is 7.1 to the ATR. Okay, well that's awfully that's awfully large. And then we look over here at our results and we say, well the max losing streak was 1782. Max winning streak though 9,834. So the results here are good, but perhaps not realistic. Well, let me rephrase that. It's not that they're not realistic. If you were trading this, that's the results you would get. But would you sit through that? That's what I mean. So let's see if we can improve that. And there's a couple of different ways we can do it. Certainly, we can tighten up the stop here. That's one thing we can do. We can tweak it a little bit. But where I would go to right off the bat, and let me go ahead and just let's just go ahead and we'll save it as the one we did here. So since we have the conditions, we already have our logic set. We can go ahead and save that optimized result. But again, a reminder: if you want to see this again, you got to save it, right? So then when you come back to it and say, okay, well I like the net profit over that 30-day window, but there's some trade results here that are not realistic. So we can improve that and get something that would be more palatable to the average trader who's not going to sit through that entire drawdown, right? So it's just not realistic. Okay, so how would we go about doing that? Well, before we get into that, let's just go over here and just talk about some of the additional features here, and then as we carry on through the series, we're going to get into how to refine, improve, tweak, and make them more realistic to what a trader would actually experience and how you would perhaps manage that. So before we do that, let's go over to let's explore Monte Carlo and reports. Now, Monte Carlo. Oh, this is relatively common in statistical analysis. What it's doing is it's taking all of the trades and it's putting them in random order, so that the idea being that you wouldn't have one big winner or loser that's dominating your results here. So it's terrible results, then you get one massive winner, and then you get again an unrealistic number here. And you can see some of these going across multiple days where you have an unrealistic outcome. But the math is math, right? That's the net result here. Now, what it's doing is saying, okay, well, if the worst possible order of all of these trades took place, what kind of drawdown am I going to experience? And we see it's almost $4,000 here. So what size account would I need to allow that to run and trade? Okay, well, it's good to know. We see the best case result up here is up to 16,000. So we've got a pretty wide range. The white line is this line. It's just, you're not on the same angle here, but that's the net result. That's the ending number here you see up here. Now we can tweak in here a little bit. You can say, okay, add slippage 1 tick on 50% of the trades. You can do that. We can do it right now. We can do that, and we could run it. Say, does that change the results? Well, it's likely to change them. How about if we skip the top 10% of the trades? Still ending up here at 10,000. So we have a good foundation here, but my point here is just to show you what this is, so that you can refine and tweak here, and you have a good expectation of the amount of capital you'd need to trade one of your algos. Now, in addition to that, we can come over to the reports and evaluate here. Now, since I don't have, well, I've only got 14 days here, and we're looking at hour of the day here. Well, 9:30, the opening hour, that's awfully good. The 11 o'clock, not so good. It's not trading during that period of time here. We've got a great 12:30 to 1 o'clock time of the day. Okay, again, we're in the building blocks, but here this is just demonstration showing what the potential is here. Days of the week, every single day of the week is profitable with this very simple rudimentary algo. Day of the month. Well, you can see of those 30 days, it only traded on 14 of them. Right, so this is probably not offering a lot of value here on this sample size here. But if you were looking at a larger sample size, that might be meaningful to you as we again add sophistication here. But this is kind of interesting. Days of the week. Sometimes the Monday, or often Monday can be not such a great day. Typically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are your best days, but not necessarily here. Friday looks quite good. So my point here is just to show you that they're there. Now we come back to the ATM, and how are we doing on time? Oh, that's 14 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Here again, we're trying to keep these short, just so you understand what's here. And then on the next one, we'll start to refine this by adding some exit conditions and get to something that's perhaps more realistic to what you'd experience as a trader. So with that, I'm gonna wrap this one up here, and we'll see you on the next video.